Evening, guys. We'll get started. Wanted to thank you right out of the gate, as the behind-the-scenes science of how all this stuff works keeps changing and our access kind of diminishes every month. We just want to make sure and thank those that are actually paying attention, even though we're definitely not the easiest to find. So thank you very much for the continued interest and also for the questions on these live things. Also just wanted to remind people again of our chapters in Arcata, California and in Toronto. If you haven't engaged with them on the internet, please do. They're offering a lot of great stuff just as we try to. So thank you for that. We got a bunch of great questions, so we're going to get going with those. You're welcome to ask questions also, and then we're going to pull some of the ones up that people asked online. But our friend Bailey asked a great question that'll get us started, and we'll move into some of the topics that we talked about in the post announcing this thing. Bailey's question was, how do we steer the board sport and BMX worlds away from a skinny, broken culture and towards a strong, resilient one? And has BMX already started to make the shift? This is something that we have gone back and forth on a lot, and it's really one of my ultimate goals is to make functional strength and conditioning that's also fun a mainstay in action sports, just because of the success I've seen it have even with myself, but with the handful of others that we've worked with, most specifically Jeremy Jones and Dan Collar and Blaze Rosati that trained here in Rochester with us. The durability that those guys have now and even the positional improvements and things like that they've made, it's just remarkable. So when I think about the hardest activities in the world, bike riding and skateboarding and snowboarding and things and surfing are all in there, and it's so confusing to me, just as it is with martial arts, that people will put these obsessive amounts of detail into their sport, and yet the physicality that insulates and improves that sport is still kind of a distant second when it comes to how they address it and how seriously they take it. So how do we steer it there? I don't really know. I mean, the ways that we're steering it there is just feet on the pavement, and realistically, our reach is small. We put out what we think is the best content that we can possibly make all the time. We believe that some of it is a standout and nothing that the world has ever seen. But we're small and we're limited. So the way that we help shift the paradigm is in my opinion, we're just going to put out such excellent products, proof of the process, in ways that eventually will just be insurmountable and undeniable. And people like Dan are leading the charge there. I mean, this is a kid that's ultra talented for sure, and has been for many, many years. But even just watching him in the last 6 months or so, I mean, it's just you're watching a totally different person. He sends me occasionally when he goes down on something, he'll send me the video, and we'll just go back and forth for a minute about the fact that the Dan a year ago or a year and a half ago would have been on the couch for 2 weeks with an injury or whatever, and he just pops back up and gets back to business. So the proof's in the pudding, and then holy shit, just the opportunity to work with Jeremy Jones and help someone who has done so much for action sports and especially snowboarding and skateboarding. And just to think about even just little improvements that he's been able to make with guidance from us, it just shows that the possibilities are endless, but they're not necessarily turning out to be easy to find. So great question from Bailey is we're just going to keep doing what we're doing and pushing it forward as hard as we can without making it a sales pitch and without having to force it down people's throats. You can't force people to work hard. We've tried that and it just doesn't work. Let's pull some questions up. If anyone else has got other ones, you're welcome to pull them up. Hi, Neen. It's flu season. Hi. Nice to see you. Looking forward to seeing you in a couple months. Training while ill. Go and do your best or rest. I mean, both answers are right. So there's relativity to it. If you're sick and contagious and disgusting and horrible, don't go to a gym where there's other people and infect them. And you also have to know what your constitution is going to allow. It's great to train compromised. I do that often myself, sometimes unintentionally, and there's a lot of value to that. But there's also got to be tempered with reality. If you're sick, and all you're going to do is make your mind and body worse, then rest and recover and do better next time. If you're a little bit under the weather and you're feeling iffy and you know that a hard training day or a quality performance is going to help you, then of course go in and do it. There's no perfect answer to that, but hopefully that one is at least not terrible. So there was like another 50 questions that I don't know how to find. So I'm just going to remember some of them, and some of them I wrote down. We get asked the question, if anyone else knows how to help me find them, then you're welcome to help me find them. God. We get asked a lot about online programming, and I always appreciate the question. In general, online programming is not something that is super appealing to me. We've put several of our programs out online, of course, and our primary program, many years of it, dating back starting a couple years ago, is still online, and Public Assistance Project is on there. But as far as writing training programs for people remotely, we would be very good at it, but we would also be over-engaged in a way that would make it a much bigger task. Most online programming that people buy is plug and play, and there may be a tiny adjustment or a tiny tick on the dial, but in general, unless you're paying an awful lot of fucking money, you're not getting a customized program from a relevant coach. One thing that I've been thinking about doing, and I've actually written it up, and I might just throw it out there and see what, just kind of focus group it, give some overview of what it would be, and then see how it goes. It is more of a physical and mental development portal. So if someone has a particular goal, if someone just purely wants to be strong, compete in powerlifting, the strategy there would be to make a goal-dependent accessory package. So something that we feel that we can help accessorize differently and better than we've seen before, and the proof's in the pudding with that. I mean, God, in the last 2 years, we've achieved some pretty serious things in pretty different realms with strategy and accessories. But as far as the main pieces, we would want to try and create remotely as close to what we create in person as we possibly can. And if we can't do that, then what we would be basically doing is selling our program short and selling our experience and selling our essentially our product, short selling our product. So a development portal would essentially be movement assessment, finding out some goals, but then also making sure that those goals involved expert generalism. If what you want to do is be really, really great at one thing, then find the best trainer you possibly can in that one thing, and then refer to a place like ours or to someone like me for the relevant accessories, for the stuff that's going to insulate and improve that primary process. So that was a great question. We appreciated that one. Another one was questions on trainers that have impacted me or influenced me. I mean, a lot of them. A lot of martial arts people, a lot of philosophy people, but in reality, old-timey, really experienced strength guys, Jim Wendler, Jim Steele, a little bit later on, Johnny Payne. I really like those guys' strength strategies. They're simple, but they're not easy ever. And they're not simple in the sense that it's plug and play. They're simple in the sense that it's easy to understand. And that's what I think is the most important thing when you're putting out any sort of training that has a thick undercurrent and a deep toolbox, is you have to make the surface level simple enough that it can really be approached and appeal to almost anybody. From a kettlebell side of things, I really always loved watching Steve Cotter and some of Steve Maxwell's stuff and Mike Mahler for the strength side. And we kind of just took all that stuff and pulled out the pieces that we enjoyed the most. Starting, early on with CrossFit, their notion of mixing the modalities was something that was excellent and was resonated with me, of course. But then how they were doing it is something that we didn't even like back then. So we were shifting and adjusting things. And in my opinion, since then, as far as the mixed modality application, as far as practice of combining elements in ways that make sense and each insulate the other elements, I feel like we're ahead of the curve there. So we're our own influence there. That's a slippery slope and a strange answer. And if we were simply teaching clinics or writing online programming or something and not seeing the feet on the pavement, it wouldn't be a good answer. It'd be an irresponsible answer. But I mean, if there's 20 classes a week at Wolf Brigade, I teach 15 of those classes. So every single day we're watching improvement. Every single day I'm making nuanced adjustments and training both really experienced people and newer people and everywhere in between. And we're improving our process every single day. There's not a day that goes by that I don't get better at training people. So the trouble with being influenced by what you're doing or what you're seeing your people or your process doing is only if you stop the progress. And we're the exact opposite of that. We're moving forward as fast as people come in the door. You can learn something from everybody every day if you're looking. So those are a couple of the trainers that have made a strong impact on me, and some of those strength guys. I believe that our accessories and our strategies with things like kettlebells and maces and even some of the ways that we articulate bodyweight stuff and how we do our training hierarchies for the days and the weeks could benefit them a lot. Not a question. Hi. Thank you, Victor. That's great. We appreciate that. If you have any questions, please ask them. I put the question thing up twice, and I didn't realize that maybe putting it up the second time canceled the first time. So that's stupid, and not a mistake I'll make again. And so I apologize for that. If you asked a great question and we missed it, that's my fault, and we'll ask it again next time. To some of the things from the list that we were going to discuss, and if you asked a question, think about the fact that I don't have it. You can ask it again right here at the bottom. Convergence is the end of May. There's 7 spots left as of right now. We're really pleased about that, and almost all of them are repeat offenders. Are repeat offenders. We couldn't be more pleased about that. Of course, we like influencing new people and meeting new people that want to look at what we're doing. But the fact that people will travel again and come back knowing that we're still really just at the tip of the iceberg and they haven't jumped all the way into the well yet is super valuable. So we're really excited about that. And if you're a trainer in another brand or something like that, something we put up the other day is learn something or pay nothing. I think that a lot of brands do not do their trainers the best service they possibly can because they put it out there as they know everything. We're not affiliated with Operation Werewolf, thank you. We're our own brand. Paul and I are friends. Many of his guys are some of the greatest people I've ever met. But we are our own thing in the same way that they are their own thing. If you're trying to trip us up, ask a different sort of question. We are as autonomous and independent as any brand that has ever walked the earth. We want to pull in new people, but in the big scheme of things with something like Convergence, the people that we want to pull in next are those that can actually go out there and influence others, as well as apply the movements, apply the strategies, apply the details on themselves. If we simply appeal to the consumer side, then we're just going to end up with a great bunch of really sneaky killers that no one ever sees. And that's what we have now. On any given day in our place, there's things going on that don't go on anywhere else. I mean, there's not tiny people lifting triple-digit kettlebells with absolute surgical precision anywhere, and it happens every day at our place. So now the next steps for us would be to take people that know, or at least know something, and are putting it forward to others, and see how it trickles down that way. So from a training standpoint, if a brand is a certification-based brand, they should send their trainers to learn more so that their trainers can stand out in the marketplace, right? In a really, really full market, how do you stand out? Well, it can't just be better marketing. It has to be a better product. And in fitness, in my opinion, if it's just marketing, then you're wasting people's time and money and energy. So when we say something like learn something or pay nothing, it's not a sales gimmick. It's not a trick. If someone can come to what we do for a weekend, anybody, any level, I mean, the owners of any of these brands are welcome to come. Although it would be a cold day in hell if that ever happened. Some of the egos, man. Anyway, aside from that, if some of those people were to actually come and they were able to leave that weekend and feel like they truly learned nothing, I would hand them their money in 2 seconds flat. I wouldn't even think twice. I would thank them. I would be glad that they were able to prove that what we do needs so much work that I should sit in that room and not show anybody what we're doing like I did for the first 5 years. So that was our theory. I'm putting that out there for Convergence. It's not a bait or a trick. We just want the best people in the world to come through our doors, and however we need to do that, we'll do it. The next phase of our Cubs program will start next month. That's something that we're extremely proud of. It's going to take some hard work. We're going to do it a little differently this time through, and it's the only problem with Cubs is that we have to rely on Rochester. And geez, if this city is not our least supporter, they're like lowest on the totem pole. There are 16 million gyms around here, and we guarantee to have less members than any of them, and probably charge about half the money. So with the Cubs program, that's going to be sometime next month. For more details, you can email wolfbrigadecubs@gmail.com. If you know people in Rochester and they have kids between 8 and 12, or any other version of that, if they're in Syracuse or Buffalo, it's going to be once a week. They want to drive their kids up. It will be the best youth training experience that we can possibly offer, and it's going to be an absolutely high bar for us to meet because, man, they did a great job last time. So we're pleased about that. Questions about that, we'd love to have them. And then we'll talk about Hell on Earth for a little bit. You guys are welcome to ask questions about this if anyone is curious. 2020 marks, I guess, with the official 25-year 25-year anniversary of Hell on Earth. Can't even say that out loud without laughing. The reality is we did a couple of shows with the Hell on Earth name before 1995, but the first actual flyer that said Hell on Earth on it was for a Devoid of Faith and Nine Shocks Terror show here in Rochester. At the time, those two bands were just fucking incredible. They were just devastating. Furious punk rock and hardcore. Devoid of Faith was from the East Coast, and Nine Shocks Terror was from Cleveland. And the show was every bit as crazy as it could have been. And that's where it got started. So from then we booked shows for a while with Hell on Earth. Towards the middle to late 90s, we started doing BMX contests under the Hell on Earth name as well. Started making some shirts. Oh, Mechanical Mongrel, you had a couple of great questions. Will you please ask them again in the comments right now? Sorry, I saw them come through, and then I goofed up with the comments. So once we got to 1998, 1999, Hell on Earth was running BMX contests. We would do a show occasionally. I didn't do shows with Hell on Earth in California, but my brother and our friends did shows still here, and then we did some when I got back. But in that time, we turned it more into a clothing brand, and there was a period of time in the early 2000s when we had distributors in 14 countries. We sold weird Hell on Earth stuff all over the place, and the reality is it was great for a while. It was a lot of fun, and the only reason it really stopped is because we lost access to our print shop, and the technical specificity that we were using at the time and things like that just would have cost too much to make the stuff elsewhere. So Hell on Earth as a tangible full-time brand stopped in the early 2000s. It continued on sporadically, and we made shirts and did little projects, and then we did some shows when I came back here. The shows that we did when I came back here to Rochester did not go well. Some of the bands were great. We made one of our best friends ever in Drew and I, that ran a club here called Dublin. But at the time, hardcore had shifted, and people wanted to just come and cause trouble. So we would book hard bands that we liked, and the shows were in the basement at a bar here called Dublin. And a bunch of fussy pricks would come and cause trouble, and there'd just be no way for them to really know that there's no way they were better at it than we were. So there was trouble at a lot of the shows, pretty tangible trouble, not kids getting shoved around, but riots and things getting thrown and broken, and people getting thrown and broken. And so then we kind of just figured that we just got to kind of love the music, hate the kids when it comes to hardcore, and let it go and watch some shows and continue to make a shirt here and there. So that's an extremely truncated history of Hell on Earth, but the idea that it's been around for 25 years is crazy, especially since I'm only 27. So thank you for the questions about that this week. It's fun to talk about that stuff, at least some of it anyway. Thanks for running that question back. Any more books coming? Yes. What does Mephisto Group plan? Trips south? Yes. So thank you so much. The answer to the trips south is yes. We have some friends down there that I'd like to see, and I need to get out of here also. So we'll be going west. We'll be going south. And I'm looking forward to it. I really prefer driving these days, and so I'll be driving, and we'll see you soon. Books coming. A great suggestion was made a couple of weeks ago of making kind of a training book, but not a conventional style training book. So I've been writing some notes down on that, and that's going to happen this year. Volume 2 of Theft of the Age is moving along. I need to hold up and just finish that thing, but really looking forward to that. The first edition, the first volume of Theft of the Age has been selling well again lately. So if any of you have had anything to do with that, we appreciate that. And then something else will sneak in is that I really still feel that especially in trying to reach larger audiences with anything that we do in order to pull them into the fitness and training side of things, because we feel that we can improve any person walking the earth with those strategies, and we've proven that we can. I think the books are possibly an unsung hero of this whole thing. I've approached a couple of conventional book agents and had some cool conversations with them, but that's a strange world, and it's really a world that I would prefer to work with someone who I knew or trusted. So if anyone that ever sees these things has access to those people or any thoughts on that would be something I would be really open to. Especially watching all the terrible things that get made into movies and series and stuff these days. Man, that book would make a cool visual. And then thank you. What is Mephisto Group? So Mephisto Group back when was an umbrella that we put over a handful of projects we were doing at one time. So, what is it? It's 2020, so 2010. So I moved, okay, so 2009, sorry, I got my calendar mixed up. So 2009 is when we lost the print shop, which was when we officially canned Hell on Earth as a clothing entity. Before that, Mephisto Group was Hell on Earth, it was Coalition, our bike company, it was Coalition Press, our printing company, it was Rust Belt Skateboards, a phenomenal friend of ours that made incredible skate decks right here in Rochester. It was a couple other small things that we had put under this umbrella of the Mephisto Group so that we could just have something professional to say on the phone when we called places. We never canned the name or the concept, but some of those projects changed direction. So now it's mostly just, it's kind of an asylum for my bastard children. So a handful of things that I've been working on are under the Mephisto Group, and some projects that others are working on with us will be under there soon. So it's just kind of a way to catch all, and if someone was to go to one place, they would find a handful of different things that we had worked on. And again, thank you for the excellent question. Thanks for sending it back. Did Nine Shocks bring fireworks? They may have. There's one of our good friends here named Eric Warner is who was navigating that show with me, and he'd been doing shows here long before me. He was really the if there's like a first generation Rochester hardcore, he was it. And I met him when I was young, and we just kind of palled around and started doing all this different stuff together, and I kind of picked up where he left off. And so Nine Shocks or any of the other bands, I mean, we booked that era's most frightening bands, hands down. Dying Breed, Integrity several times, Stigmata. Geez, I mean, it was a long list, and it was just a list of maniacs. So Eric had a pretty firm hand with those guys, and he knew what was what. And so there was trouble at that Nine Shocks show, but I don't know if too much of it was actually Nine Shocks. I saved Eric from murdering this idiotic punk rocker that still comes around here. Because we lose money every time we do a show. Eric was one of the ones that first ever taught me that you don't ever book an event that you don't have enough money to pay for if you make $0. And that was a kind of a strange pill to swallow for a kid that routinely had $0. So it made me get responsible really quickly, and it helped with our own band's projects, and then subsequently with everything else we did. That was a great mindset to have. If I didn't have the money in my pocket, if it went just absolutely belly up, then don't pull the trigger on it. And anyway, so that was a show we were definitely going to lose money. Devoid of Faith and Nine Shocks Terror were not demanding, but we wanted to pay them well, and they had come here to play. So kids sneaking in were not looked upon positively, and this kid especially was just a smarmy little prick. So Eric took the 40 that the kid snuck into the show and was definitely I'm not sure what he was going to do. I'm not sure what he was going to do with it, but I made sure he didn't do it. Have we gotten any flack? Yeah, we have. Yep. We have. I'm not sure I want to address that right now, but yes, we've gotten flack. I don't know. I'm not sure about the world we're living in right now. Quentin Tarantino would love to. You know him? If you know Quentin Tarantino and he wants to make a movie about some pretty strange kids, you get him on the horn with me and we'll make it happen. Jason Lathan, no, that giant idiot punk rock dude that still comes around and plays in bands. He's like 54 years old and he fucking dresses up like a teenager. Sucks. Can't remember his name. I don't care. Yeah, that's okay. Sorry. It's a good question. I just think it's a little bit of a slippery slope. I don't really feel like swearing in front of everybody on the internet right now. Let me scroll back for a second, see what else I miss. Haymaker. Yeah, thank you. By the way, by the way, Ben, your knife is I changed the sheath a little bit, and I've been carrying it every single day. So thank you again so much. Going south means Greg's going surfing. I will go near the water, possibly not in the water, and I'm gonna need a harpoon and a shotgun. So that's my contract rider. And I'm gonna need old son there to wrestle the fucking alligators that are definitely in there, if you don't mind. Hey, Alec, thank you, man. I was hoping you'd come up for Convergence. You're more than welcome if you can swing it. So one thing I wanted to mention quickly is we've been working with a handful of people lately. One of the remote people I'm working with right now is a professional baseball pitcher, and it's been a super fun project. What a go-getter. He's a little bit older for professional baseball, but he hunted us down and found the mace and thought that would be a perfect skill and power transfer implement. And goddamn was he right. So we've been adding some ingredients to the soup over there, and I've been learning even more about power transfer, but also positional power transfer. So it's the same movement pattern, it's the same energy system. It doesn't have to be the exact same movement, of course, because in sport movement is trained in sport. But we were even putting the pieces together of, okay, because the ball is being released and you're not holding on to it, something like a tennis racket would be different, because you're going to have something that follows through that force as opposed to releasing that force. So when you're developing those powers and you're developing those positions, we'd put some mace things on there. We'd put really, really organized tire smash on there. And what he's finding is unsurprising to us, but extremely excellent, and the way he articulated is really helpful, is he's just feeling a real connectivity and a real tip-to-tail power. Tip-to-tail power was our statement, but his articulation, he just keeps saying that everything feels extremely connected. And he's throwing harder, he's feeling better, he's been squatting better, which is also excellent, because when he pulls his knee up to load that pitch, he sent an excellent photo of last year, and he sent a photo of this year, and he's got another half a foot of travel on his knee on the way up, which absolutely transfers to force on that throw. So we've just been learning a lot of cool things about how the similar but different strategies that we have apply to so many different things. In the last 2 years, we've put gigantic amounts of weight on a world-class deadlifter. We've had people walk on and compete successfully in Spartan races. Hey, Jim, we've trained people for martial arts competitions. We've had people compete in professional Muay Thai with success, and then something like this professional baseball thing. So strategy transcends platform, and then the nuanced details have to be looked at as, what are you trying to develop? If you know what you're trying to develop, and you know how you've developed it in others, it's just little tiny ticks on the dial from there. So the baseball thing is just something that I kind of wanted to share with you guys, because it's outside of our realm, but at the same time it isn't. We've had a few FaceTime conversations and a few phone conversations, and mostly text messages and videos back and forth, and that's the long and short of it. And there's a decent chance that this dude is going to throw 100 miles an hour in a month or so and get a fucking crazy job playing baseball. So just wanted to share that with you guys. A couple other. Hey, Paul. Any plans on rolling Cubs out in a similar fashion to public assistance? Thank you. Man, Gypsy, we're not sure yet. So especially with these weird batches of acrimony, we want Cubs to spread as far as we can spread it reliably, responsibly, without trouble for anybody. And at some point, all this stuff will quiet down, because anyone with even a nickel of common sense can look through 25 years of what we've done and seen that all we have ever done is fight for the underdog. We have never discriminated against one single person. We have never turned anyone away based on anything except for weak constitution and shitty attitude. and we would continue to do that today. So in turning cubs loose to the world, it's got to be right. Doing it in a public assistance style fashion, to me, that would mean really open source, probably free, and really, really detailed, but also relatively unaccountable unless you had a real responsible team leader there. And so that particular way, won't happen, but it will get rolled out, and it may even be in something like a seminar fashion. Something that I've thought about that I think would work great is turning Sarah and Heather loose and sending them to different places and letting them do, a Cubs clinic or something, and then having the people that attended apply it in either in pieces or a whole on their groups. So anyway, those are what we've been thinking about, and thank you for asking. Yeah, thank you, Brian, man. Yeah, so are we. I mean, athletics is athletics, and to circle back for a minute to action sports, what we're finding too, even most recently training people like Dan and Blaze, and is that the same details that improve people's strength and conditioning here, and people that are going into fighting or people that are training for whatever type of application. The strategies only have to differ a little tiny bit. And that's really because our entire program is predicated around optimizing every single movement pattern and using a handful of sensible implements at related weights and schemes. So you're not going to do a day of 40 deadlifts broken into sets of 5 and then 16,000 mace swings and 400 kipping pull-ups. Instead, what you would very likely do is a day of deadlifting, broken up 40 reps into sets of 5 or whatever the scheme ends up being. A very, very heavy kettlebell swing after that. That's going to be, of course, a little bit less than the deadlift, but the exact same pattern. Some heavy mace shovels, which are going to be extremely heavy and challenging, but again, less weight than the kettlebell swing. And then some type of pulling and pushing accessory towards the end. Usually followed up with some type of sit-up at the end or a quick sprint on the bike or something like that. But if we're really consistent and systematic about optimizing these things, man, your track and field athletes, this baseball, action sports, Muay Thai, whatever the case is, it's all just it all just kind of seams together. We like it for that reason. Someone asked if I had to choose, and I'll say the full versions of the words, but Muay Thai or Jiu-Jitsu, which would it be? I don't really know. I wouldn't choose one over the other. I don't need to. I'm very pleased I don't need to. But if we change Jiu-Jitsu to grappling, then I always choose grappling. I love grappling. If I had one really tangible kind of like point of anger or regret of being on the shelf for far too many years after a spinal fusion surgery did not go well, it would be the fact that I truly believe that if I had stayed grappling as I was for many years in California, and then when I moved back here, that I could have been very good at it. So, and I still love it. I would rather, when I'm hurt, I would rather lay on the ground and just let people try and submit me and still get practice working on something than I would to not wrestle at all. And I love Muay Thai. I've trained in it for a long time, competed in it at an amateur level, trained others in it, and hopefully done a great job at that. And love watching it, but grappling for me as far as a practice as things like that. Also, as far as a lot of the stuff that we do in helping people with defensive tactics and people that are going to be applying uses of force in public and stuff. I mean, grappling is crucial. It's crucial, and good grappling is even more crucial. If it's too fancy, it's not going to work, and let me guarantee it. Single, double, or trident harpoon. I mean, is all three an appropriate answer? Do I get to have one of each? I don't know what any of that is. Dan mentioned that a kettlebell swing and a bunny hop are the same movement. Recently discovered this is also true when you're jumping horses. Yeah, okay, I believe that. I think the horse is probably slightly less cooperative than the kettlebell. But floor to extremity power is floor to extremity power. Your feet may be actually on the floor, they may be on pedals, they may be in stirrups, but if you can't make power from your base, you're not going to have it in your midline. we always heard core to extremity, and while that makes a ton of sense to me, and it is in a lot of ways true, the vernacular change that we made is floor to extremity, because realistically, when you're looking at striking, you're looking at throwing a body, or you're looking at lifting something really, really heavy. If you're not rooted into the ground as hard as you possibly can, or in a different application, even as well as you possibly can, if dexterity is present, you can't just be completely braced like you're going to lift a 500-pound bar. But if you can't make power in that way and stability in that way, then nothing from the floor up is going to work right. So if you're not thinking about bracing and power until you get to the midline, there's going to be some holes in the boat on the ground. Sorry, scrolling back for a minute, see if I miss anything. If there's any more questions, you guys are welcome to run them out. I think we've probably got about 10 minutes. And again, thank you so much. I think we're caught up. We'll run back to my list. So one thing that we've been noticing is, not to complain about idiotic stuff like algorithms on Instagram, but our reach in the last calendar year has gone down about 2/3. We were, some of these live, for example, the first, this is number 18 or something. Seems strange also, but some of the first few, I mean, there was 2 or 3 of these things that 1,000 people watch, and that's incredible. It's amazing. And now we're still very pleased at how many people are watching. I mean, there could be 10 people watching, and this would be the exact same platform for us. But the reach has gone down considerably. The post engagement down. The only thing that really lands lately is the Instagram TV stuff. So one question I wanted to put out there for you guys is, if you had the opportunity to see Instagram TV videos from us, is there any particular content that you'd like to see? And if so, please tell us. You don't even necessarily have to tell us right here, right now, but you can send a comment in or a direct message or whatever, and we'll see what comes up. One thing that I'm going to do next week is, people ask questions all the time, and there was a few in this list that I lost, about traveling while you're training, training while you're traveling. I've had a long-standing belief that if you can't figure out training while you're traveling, you just simply don't want to train while you travel. Of course, it's going to be a little bit different, but the reality is, if there's flat ground and a park bench, and the grocery store you're near sells either bottles or cases of water or windshield wiper fluid, or there's a rock in the park, or there's a tree in the park, or whatever the case is, you can always get a lot done, always. If your prime directive is maximal strength, if you're training for powerlifting or something like that, of course, you're not going to move towards that goal in a direct way while you're traveling around without much equipment, but you can use it as rest, you can use it as accessory, and you can always do something that's going to help your other things if you understand optimizing patterns, optimizing energy systems, things like that. But one thing that, and also my frustration for the last year has been a little bit higher, because that's the entire reason that we constructed the public assistance project, is so really there was just simply no excuse to not have excellent training anywhere you were at any time with almost nothing. One thing we've started doing separately, one thing we've started doing with public assistance is, when people say, oh, we did it, it's great, but we want what's next, we're not going to write more programming for that. The upscale for that is start using a dumbbell and every month through, do it with another 5 pounds or another 10 pounds on that dumbbell. It gets evil quick. So for you public assistance folks on here, if you've been doing that for a while and it's been going well, change the stimulus, you'll change the result. You put a reasonable weight dumbbell on that very simple program, and all of a sudden you've got something totally different, and still just as valuable. But what we'll do for Instagram TV next week is I do a lot of really unusual things. Well, nothing that reinvents the wheel, but just some things we haven't seen with bands. Inch bands or 1.5 bands or 3/4 inch bands or whatever. So that's something that is even smaller. You can put in a bag, you put in a backpack, and if thought about properly, you can get an absolute ton with a band. You can get a lot of push-pulls, you can get a lot of isolated neck work, you can get mobility stuff, and a lot of it is just deliberateness. If you want to make something hard to manage, it will be hard to manage. If you want it to be easy to manage, it will be. So training while you're traveling, if you're asking the question 2-3 times and you're finding that you can't find an answer, maybe you just don't want to train while you're traveling. But if you do, then that'll be one more way that we can help you. Is we'll put a band video up next week, and if it's stupid, it's stupid. I don't give a fuck. It'll help someone. Not a question. The Die Young record is an old favorite. Oh, that's awesome. So great, man. Yeah, that's great. I only got to catch that band one time, but man, they were mean. All that stuff. You're talking about Die Young from Texas, or are you talking about the Wisdom in Chains record, which is also excellent? Either way, phenomenal and mean for the right reasons. Yeah, great. What have you been putting in there? Whatever. Put grape juice in there and then drink it. Let me scroll back, see if we missed anything else. We got 5 minutes. Texas, yeah, Die Young from Texas, great. Thank you. Only got to catch that band one time. If nobody else has any more questions, we're going to call it. I'll sit here for a second and see if anyone else has got anything, but thank you again for watching. Reminder that if we're posting something that you find valuable, what we're learning is the only way for people to see that is for you to show them. And that's important. We're not going to be a casualty of a shitty modern world. This thing will always exist. And I firmly believe that if it gets in the right hands, that it can change an awful lot of important stuff. And we are never going to be masters of digital strategy. That's just not our priority. It's not what we're going to do. So if anyone has suggestions in those realms, if what we're doing lands and helps you or helps others that you know or whatever, you need to share it with them in more tangible ways. Sitting back and waiting has never gotten anyone anything. And we're certainly not doing that. I mean, we are pushing as hard as we can, and I say that with a little bit of tongue in cheek because we really truly are. So thank you for your help and continue to give it. We have no intention of slowing down or stopping no matter what happens, but it would be nice to grow a little bit and be able to reach a lot more people with this stuff that we're working so hard to create. We'll see you again soon. Any questions, please pass them on in a direct message. Paul, what a great sign off, and thank you so much. Can't wait to see you. Thanks, everybody. See you soon.